The 2020 presidential campaign has already begun, at least for one long-shot Democrat. Tonight, my colleague Brett Baer talks with Maryland Congressman John Delaney about why he wants to be the next commander-in-chief.
Democratic Congressman John Delaney of Maryland.
Ready to run
for president in 2020.
News of the first Democrat getting into the 2020 race for the White House came as a surprise.
She wants to do the Facebook Live.
Oh, good.
Three-term Maryland Democratic Congressman John Delaney launched his campaign with an op-ed in the Washington Post, arguing that the U.S. government is hamstrung by partisan politics. And he did it a full 30 months before the Iowa caucuses.
When I told people I was doing this interview, they all said, why did he get in so early? And the America Rising PAC that supports President Trump just had a one-word response to your announcement, and it said, who?
Well, to some extent, they answered your question, right? Because, you know, this is the most important job in the world. It seems to me the right answer to do the most important job in the world is to work really hard at it. One of the things that shocked me since I entered public service in 2012 after being an entrepreneur and being in the private sector is how little the public policy debate is about the future. Technology, automation, global interconnections, these are the most powerful forces in the world. They're reshaping the whole world, and no one's really talking about what's actually happening in the world and how it's going to play out over time and what policies we can put in place to make sure the country succeeds, right, economically and is safe, and to make sure our citizens are in a position to succeed in a world that's changing.
Delaney's Democratic Party is trying to pick up the pieces and to find its way after big losses across the country. Leaders like Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer seem ready to pull the party further left in search of Democrats who either didn't vote or voted for Donald Trump.
I don't think the Democrats have yet to offer what the alternative is.
I think the approach of the Democratic Party should be to fight President Trump when he's pursuing things that we think are bad and offend our values. But we also need to tell the country what we stand for. To make our economy more competitive.
In a flashy campaign launch video, Delaney, a former CEO and one of the wealthiest members of Congress, spends very little time using the two words on Democrats' lips for months: Donald Trump.
Democrats can't win by just attacking Trump. We really have to show the American people there's a better way. We have to think about the future.
The 54-year-old touts his blue-collar upbringing in a union family in New Jersey and calls himself a, quote, progressive businessman, basically a conservative on most fiscal issues and a liberal or progressive on social issues. The question is, will a candidate more centrist than Hillary Clinton capture the imagination of a volatile and at times angry Democratic Party?
It sounds like a great idea, but he has to get through a Democratic primary, and that's where he's going to have a problem. That's not going to work in the Democratic Party of 2020.
There hasn't been enough press focus on this major division in the Democratic Party. You have hashtag resistance and the progressives. The real question is, do the Democrats believe in free enterprise and in business people anymore? There's not much room for them at their table.
It seems the Democrats are learning something different from the past election. You have Senate Democrats putting out a new set of trade policies that are leaning much more nationalistic, much more populist, saying that Buy America products, renegotiating NAFTA. These are Trump talking points. You were somebody who voted to fast-track the TPP. You are pro-trade.
Engaging globally has been positive for our citizens. And the problem with our historical approach to trade is we engaged globally, which was the right thing to do, but we knew people would be hurt by it. Right? We knew it, and we didn't do a damn thing to help them. Right? And that's the problem. And when I was supporting President Obama with his efforts to pursue the TPP, which, by the way, if we had that agreement in place, I think we would have better bargaining with the Chinese over North Korea. People don't like to talk about that, right? They think these things are just about economics. They're not. They're about our role in the world and how much leverage we have. But what I really push the White House to do is do this as part of an infrastructure program.
Delaney authored a bipartisan infrastructure bill in the House, a public-private partnership model, one of several bills still awaiting action. And he tackled the third rail of politics, Social Security, putting forward a bipartisan bill designed to extend the solvency of Social Security by 75 years.
People who think you can't make small calibrations to these programs to extend their solvency and do it in a way that doesn't hurt people, that actually helps people, people, again, are not looking at the facts. If we do these now, they'll have no impact on anyone who's a senior right now. They'll have no impact on anyone who's close to being a senior. And it'll have a very, very inconsequential impact on people who are young.
Delaney started the Artificial Intelligence Caucus in Congress, a bipartisan effort to try to get a grasp of AI.
People think of artificial intelligence and they think of like the Terminator movie, right? The truth of the matter is there's a million opportunities for human intervention and conversation as this technology evolves. And what's important is to not ignore it, right? Not put our head in the sand.
Lightning round here. Taxes.
So I don't see any model out there that shows that we can have very significant tax cuts, particularly for wealthy Americans. In fact, my judgment, they should be paying more. Where we have to make fixes is our corporate tax code, because it's non-competitive. We should be lowering the rate by reducing deductions.
Healthcare.
Healthcare, we should fix the Affordable Care Act, clearly. Only about 5 to 7% of the population is in these exchanges. People over 55 should go into Medicare. They should be allowed to buy into Medicare. That would make the populations in these exchanges much healthier.
Abortion.
So personally, April and I would follow the teachings of our church, but I don't believe that my church's teaching should affect the law of the land, and I support women's reproductive freedom.
Gay marriage.
Totally supportive of that.
Climate change.
Big problem. Should be solved in a market-based approach. I've got a big piece of legislation that actually puts a price on carbon and uses all the revenues generated from that to actually lower taxes and give tax credits to average Americans and businesses.
Biggest threat in the world?
The biggest threat in the world is nuclear weapons, by any measure.
This is a daunting challenge. I mean, the last congressman to become president was James Garfield,
right,
130 years ago. In your op-ed in the Washington Post, you said, "I will not be running for re-election to the House of Representatives. No games, no cat and mouse, no backup plan at the 11th hour if a focus group goes badly."
Yeah. So I'm all in. When people ask me what's my career, I said I was an entrepreneur. I started 2 companies, and now I do public service. I don't answer that question by saying I'm a politician.
Now Delaney has 30 months to try to sell the Democratic Party on his brand of politics. In Washington, Brett Baer, Fox News.